Some members of the All Progressives Congress in the Federal Capital Territory are asking the party's national chairman, Abdullahi Ganduje, to intervene and stop an opposition party leader from meddling in the affairs of the party. They are alleging that a known delegate at the People's Democratic Party Zonal Convention has procured the APC nomination and expression of interest forms ahead of the upcoming party primaries for the chairmanship of area councils. Well, the spokesperson of the APC Consolidation Group, Idris Jibril, said preliminary investigations point to possible internal sabotage and external manipulation. He's alleging that a PDP chieftain in the FCT plans to contest the APC primary election.
We are gravely concerned about Kuje and Buhari Area Council, and particularly the case of a certain aspirant has now procured the APC nomination and expression of interest form. This act of political opportunism undermines the integrity of our party and the trust of loyal party members who have worked tirelessly and diligently to grow the APC in the FCT. We therefore call on the national chairman of our great party, His Excellency Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje, to take swift and decisive action. We urge the Inspector General of Police and the Director General of the Department of State Services, DSS, to investigate and monitor the situation in Kuje and Buhari area councils, respectively, to prevent a breakdown of law and order.
In other stories, more groups continue to speak on President Tinubu's midterm scorecard. Earlier in the week, the Afenifere, a pan-Yoruba social political group, says President Bola Tinubu should be allowed to complete an 8-year, 2-term tenure. Afenifere said some persons are stirring tribal sentiments by describing the Tinubu administration as a Yoruba government to deny him a second term. In a statement issued on Friday, Kole Omololu, National Organizing Secretary of the group, said Tinubu assumed power as a result of the democratic choice of Nigerians. Omololu said no tribal coalition was formed against former President Muhammadu Buhari, adding that he was allowed to rule for 8 years. Well, we are now joined by Bayo Onanuga, Special Advisor to President Tinubu on Information and Strategy. Thank you so much for joining us on the news tonight, Mr. Onanuga.
Yeah, thank you, Adeshua.
Now, the president
I'm very happy to be here.
Great. We're happy to have you. The president in his midterm detailed speech yesterday to Nigerians says he acknowledges the pains, but insists reforms were necessary. However, there seems to be a consensus among some Nigerians, critics, and even analysts that the pain is too much with little relief. How does the presidency respond to that perception?
Let me start by saying that many of us in this country, many Nigerians, what we sometimes exhibit the problem of lack of memory. We have very short memory. We forget where we started from, and we just start blaming President Tinubu for all the problems that Nigeria is going through. I remember, for instance, in May 2023, when Tinubu took over the government, there was fuel shortage in this country. People forgot that. All through the election of that year, there was fuel shortage. So when the president announced on day one, the day he was sworn in, and said he was removing fuel subsidy, the immediate reaction was called by NNPC, which has been the major supplier of fuel, was to increase the pump price. Because as at that time, NNPC was no more willing to import fuel. NNPC was saying the federal government was owing it over 4 trillion naira, and it was also owing its suppliers abroad. So what the federal government did, what President Tinubu did, was to breathe some life into NNPC to resume importing fuel so that fuel can be available. People forget that easily. There was no way Nigeria could have sustained the regime of fuel subsidy. No way. Because the resources are just not there. And we are just spending the money that ought to belong to the future generation. So the resources are not there, so government just have to do the right thing. Yeah, problems followed what the president did. This government has been honest in admitting some of the problems, some of the fallouts of the consequence of removing fuel subsidy, and has been doing a lot of measures, to ameliorate the pains of Nigerians. The second policy of government was the harmonization of foreign exchange. Before President Tinubu took over, the gap between official and the other window was about 300, 400 naira times. So some people were making money. If they had access to Mr. Mefiele, then the CBN governor can make you billionaire overnight. That has stopped. So I want to start from there and say, look, Nigerians should give this president some credit for stopping the arbitrage that characterized the foreign exchange regime under previous administrations, including PDP. But people are just not willing to give him any credit. Some critics. But we know that what he has done are very important, are very necessary, and they are for the benefit of our people. And we can see the results of the efforts he has done so far. We can see the results, the gains that have accrued to this country, the reforms that have taken place, and the gains are showing, and to the benefit of our people.
All right, Mr. Onanuga, perhaps you can point out some of those gains, because that seems to be the concern. They appreciate that these reforms need to be taken, but they don't understand why there's so much suffering for them. I think that's where the problem is. What are some of these gains you would like to highlight for the Nigerian people from these tough economic policies that they can feel tangible?
There are so many gains. I think if you want to start listing them, you can start listing over 100 gains of the reforms that this government has done. Let me start from the health sector. By removing the subsidies alone, the government made the oil industries open, more competitive. And you can see what has happened there. Dangote coming on stream, other oil companies coming on stream. You have seen more investments flowing into the oil sector. Last year alone, about $80 billion was invested in our country, in the oil sector, last year alone. And that means more jobs, more products, and so that's what will happen. That's one gain. You can see the reform that the government, the president has done with NNPC itself that ought to be contributing money to the national treasury. Government has put up a brand new management and board to run the affairs of the company. And we expect that in the next few months, we start seeing the results of that. The government did not just remove fuel subsidy. Government provided alternative, and that's the CNG. In the last 2 days or 3 days, the presidential CNG initiative has been preaching the values of CNG, taking it to universities, University of Abuja, now Yakubu Gowon University, Ahmadu Bello University, and so on, introducing the bikes, the tricycles that use only CNG. Many commercial vehicles in Abuja, Lagos, are now running on CNG, providing alternative, which is about 25% of the cost of fuel. Because the president has thrown the oil market open, you can see the competition. Prices are coming down every day. When it started, it was about over 1,000 naira. Today, in Lagos, about less than 900 naira in Lagos. These are some of the benefits of what the president has done.
All right, Mr.
Nelfon is also one of the reforms of the government.
Okay, Nelfon, that's the student loan scheme. Thank you for highlighting those. But some
the student loan scheme is there, and
Okay, all right. So some will say that the administration is big on economy, but not so much in other sectors, so other areas such as security and socio-economic investments for the people. But let me ask you, concerns raised include insensitivity. Some Nigerians are being told, are complaining that they are being told to endure and sacrifice. But at the same time, they witness what appears to be extravagance and wealth among government officials. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think that is not true what they are saying. What extravagance are they talking about? What extravagance have they seen that they are talking about? I'm here now. Do I look like somebody that's extravagant? So people just throw all kinds of things at government officials, and without any iota of proof. They just want to paint the government black, the way they see it. This government is very, very sensitive. This government, and let me say, this president cares very much for the Nigerian people. He's been honest enough in many of his broadcasts, in many of his statements, to admit that yes, there are problems. Excuse me. That there are problems with the reforms. Problems that affect the ordinary Nigerian on the street. And there are all kinds of policies that government has implemented to reduce the pain that people go through. So it is not true that the government is insensitive. The government is doing a lot of things to ameliorate the problems that our people face in coping with the reforms that we have.
Okay, let me ask you another question while you try to clear your throat. Sorry about that. There's another problem that they speak of, and we've heard analysts across board speak about this. Reforms like financial autonomy for the local governments, reforms such as the Oronsaye reports to be implemented, seem to have stalled. They say this government is big on announcements of reforms, but not so much on outcomes and results.
Well, Adeshu, I would say that's a very unfair assessment. The government has been always walking the talk. Whatever it says, I'm sorry for my cough. Whatever it says, it does. The government announced a Oronsaye report that it will do something. It will try to merge some agencies and things like that. I can tell you that that policy is still in the works. I think it was passed to the Secretary of the government to work a lot of things out. So you cannot say it's not going to, government is not going to do it. It's still in the works. A lot of policies announced are being implemented. I think you mentioned second one, which I've forgotten now. A lot of policies highlighted the government will say it will do, government is doing them. The policies announced in the oil and gas industry, they are being implemented. So it's not true that we announce policies, we don't implement them. Many policies are being followed through, and whoever says we are not doing so, just telling lies.
Okay. Before you go, the whistle has blown. The second half of this administration has begun. What should Nigerians expect in the next half?
Well, what I envisage is that Nigerians are going to see in the next 1 year the government is going to face the macroeconomic side of its policy. We have done a lot of macroeconomic policies. Now it's time to face the other side of it. How does it affect the people? And government is already doing a lot of things. Agriculture, investing in agriculture so that the food prices can come down. And we are seeing signs of that already. Health-wise, government is setting up a company they call a Medpool or something. to ensure that the prices of medicine come down. So we are going to see a lot of these activities in the next few months to further reduce the problems that our people go through, to reduce the inflation that we see in the price of health products, of medicines, and things like that, and the prices of food. So we're going to see a lot of that in the next few months. We are going to see government accelerating its CNG policy, more aggressively, taking it to schools, taking it to more communities and more cities. So, and the process is already on. The private sector has already bought into it and is helping to expand access to CNG, conversion to CNG, and so on. So we're going to see many activities happening in that area. So I see that in the next few months, our people are going to have a sigh of relief, and the inflationary spiral will continue to go down. It's already easing, and I see it going down in the next, in fact, more down in the next few months.
Well, Nigerians can only hope for the best, and they'll be watching the space. Thank you so much. Bayo Onanuga is a special advisor to President Bola Tinubu on information and strategy. We do appreciate your time on the news tonight.